Okay, welcome everybody to the September 10th, 2015 meeting of the Board of Directors of the Kensington Police Protection and Community Services District. My name is Len Welsh. I'm the board president. I'll take roll call at this time. I note Pat Gillette and Vanessa Cordovar are not able to make it tonight, so they're not here. So Ms. Sheris Watt?
Here.
Mr. Toombs?
Here.
So we have three people here, barely a quorum. So I guess we'll get going.
Director, we have, staff has one change on the minutes.
We'll get there, okay?
I'm sorry.
It's all right. So the first stage of the proceeding is public comments. Would anybody like to, actually, I guess board member, no public comments first, that's right. Dr. Schwartzberg.
I'm Leonard Schwartzberg, and I'm going to read this statement. This statement stems from the facts that follow and is made for two reasons. One, my name has been used in the official record of the KPPCSD board in a way that misrepresents what I said and damages me and has the potential to cause me further damage. I do not wish to see the reputation of our community's process of governance further stained by the pattern it represents. Confronting the issues is a necessary step in providing the transparency needed for the reforms underway to succeed. On February 12, 2015, at the KPPCSD meeting, Don Morris made a sincere statement of his belief based on the way the writ was characterized in the community and asked that he be corrected if anything he said was incorrect. He then went on to characterize the petitioners as having frivolously filed the writ, costing the district legal fees, and for charging wrongful conduct on the part of the then DM COP, who had been cleared by the DA. He further opined that we had falsely turned the issue around, blaming the board for its use of the lawyers. It should be kept in mind that this statement was made in a climate where the board was attempting to collect $158,000 in legal fees from the 6 petitioners, and significant attempts were afoot in the community to justify that pursuit. Someone from the audience called out in response to his request for correction that the district could have avoided the writ being filed, and Mr. Morris asked in good faith, how? At that point, after 5 minutes and 7 seconds of Mr. Morris's statement, President Welsh abruptly cut off the discussion. After 2 very short speakers who were ahead of me in line, I, seeking to counter the impression that the writ was filed frivolously, made the following 42-second statement. Quote, just a point of clarification, just a point of clarification. The DA's letter with regard to the charges that were brought were claimed to have stated that there was no evidence of wrongdoing. That is not what it said. It said there was no evidence of criminal wrongdoing, though it was represented the other way. And one of the reasons there was no evidence of criminal wrongdoing is that there was no per diem established by this board. There were no regulations to have been broken. Lynn Wolter reduced that statement to, quote, Leonard Schwartzberg said the DA's letter with regards to the charges that were brought stated there was no evidence of criminal wrongdoing, unquote. That was the extent of the statement that she put into the minutes. Thus, she changed it from a correction to his statement to a support of his statement. I informed her of my objection on March 10th, when the agenda for that meeting containing the minutes for the February 12th meeting was sent out. She responded the same day, saying she transcribed my full statement and would amend the minutes as the board directs. Though as the minutes were not yet approved, the matter was still fully in her hands, and she, having transcribed the full statement that day, knew the truth of the matter. On that date, she sent the full transcribed statement to President Welsh, instructing him, quote, "If the minutes should be amended, the board may do so when the consent calendar is discussed." The copy of that email in my possession brackets my statement and has Ms. Walter's handwritten words, "Approved amendment." This replaces the sentence on page 13. An email from President Welsh to me on that same date stated, "Let's take it up at the board meeting. I have no objection to putting the whole quote in as a one-time deal, and since it is short, and will support that." And then there were a few other things not particularly relevant to this. It was unreasonable for me to understand from this that the minutes as presented to the public in the agenda of March 12th would be so changed. It remains to the present date, yesterday, entirely unchanged and without any reference to it having been amended.
Can I ask to clarify something right now, Dr. Schwartzberg?
I'd rather not be interrupted. I'd rather finish my statement.
Okay, fine.
Upon learning of this, subsequently, I requested a meeting with President Welsh and interim DM COP Hart, which took place on July 19th. During that meeting, I learned from Mr. Hart that the only place the notation regarding an amendment existed in the minutes was in the copy kept in the office at the police station. In the understanding that the minutes would be corrected, and in the interest of healing, I agreed not to make a formal complaint against Ms. Walter. On August 19th, I had a second meeting with interim DM COP Hart, in which he informed me that Ms. Walter knew he was meeting with me and that the corrections would be dealt with when he returned to the office. We next spoke on August 22nd, Mr. Hart's meet and greet, when he mentioned something to me about a drop-down menu that I didn't understand, but didn't pursue, as he was quite busy introducing himself to the community present. I was impressed with his 5 prohibitions. The first, a prohibition against lying. Several days later, I learned that there was a new feature on the web called, quote, amended minutes, that the mentioned drop-down menu referred to. Going to that part of the site, there are 3 sets of amended minutes listed, providing only the dates 2/12/15, 3/12/15, and 9/4/15, with no other information present. It appears to fit a pattern that all 3 of the amended minutes concern either myself, Catherine D. Neergaard, or Kathy Cosell, all 3 involved with the writ litigation directly. Haig Harris, the attorney representing Kathy, wrote that a statement attributed to him in the minutes of 3/12/15 regarding her status on the writ was patently untrue. Another person who complained about her statement in writing being entirely absent was Marilyn Stolen, another critic of the way the board has operated. In the minutes of April 19th, Director Cordova commented that some members of the community hadn't seen their comments recorded in the minutes. I note that to the present date, September 9th, yesterday, there is no indication whatsoever to alert a reader of the original minutes as still presented to the public concerning where to find the amended minutes concerning my statement of February 12th, let alone that such amended minutes even exist. And when I first went to the amended minutes of February 12th from the drop-down menu, there was no indication of which minutes had been amended. Knowing what I was looking for, I went to the page with a single misrepresenting statement there, and there I found a nearly entirely illegible, handwritten, marginal notation by Ms. Walter's hand. On August 31st, President Welsh and I had a phone call and together looked at, online at what I was still complaining about, and he said that the marginal notation was illegible and that it would have to be fixed. The rest of the call didn't turn out well, but indeed the notation was made legible. And my true complete statement of February 12th can be found by taking the additional step of scrolling to the end of that document. And there is another addition to the first page of the amended minutes, another handwritten note by Ms. Walter directing the reader to scroll to page 13 for the next clue about how to get to the true statement. Thus, if a member of the community or a historian of these Kensington battles, or a member of the press, or a lawyer researching for a client, was examining the minutes of the first instance, the logical place anyone would look, they would have no way to know that what is there had been objected to regarding its contextual truth, and indeed that it had been amended on the basis of that objection, so that it told the truth and what that truth actually was. And if they had somehow been able to define that, they would have had to divine that, they would have had to go through 5 additional steps to finally be able to exclaim, "Eureka!" Thank you, Pat Gillette, for injecting a bit of sanity into the mix below with your email from France. September 8th, greetings from France. I will not be at the September meeting, but I too am a bit baffled as to why we can't change the minutes as they appear in the record of the meeting they reflect, if I am understanding Leonard's point correctly. I realize that it is not how it has been done in the past, but can't we change the practice so the record is easily accessible and clear? Maybe I'm missing something. Reforms have been undertaken, and for those reforms to work, there has to be trust. There can be no trust while the minutes of these proceedings are manipulated in the way they have been manipulated.
Would anybody else like to comment?
I have a question here. I must have missed all this, and I apologize for being ignorant. It seems to me that if I'm getting the gravamen of this correctly, Len, what's happened is your amending text has been buried someplace where no one can find it easily.
That's correct.
I mean, the easy thing, I'm not a whiz at this website.
Well, wait a minute. Let's be clear about what's happening here, Chuck, okay?
Let me finish, please, okay?
Nothing is being buried, okay?
I'm trying to characterize what Lynn is saying. I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody, so please, can I just say what I want to say?
Go ahead.
The issue is to make any change to the minutes easily located, and I don't know how the web works. I just think that an easy way to do it is where the agenda is. The next point after the agenda, you put some kind of a correcting statement about the minutes from the prior agenda. I don't know what was done because I haven't gone through this, and this is the first I've really heard about all of this.
The reason I was trying to cut you off a little bit there, Chuck, is that if you look at the website now, and this is for the benefit of you and everybody else here, you'll find agenda packets, for each board meeting scheduled in advance, and that's where the proposed minutes are with all their flaws. And then we now have a section for amended minutes. Maybe that's mislabeled. Maybe it should be adopted minutes. But anybody who knows this process knows that there's proposed minutes and there's adopted minutes. And if you want to find out what was adopted and there's a section that says adopted or amended minutes, that's where you're going to find it. That's what we have now. I do want to apologize for the handwritten note being illegible. Dr. Schwartzberg was right about that.
It's been corrected.
But I don't, frankly, see anything wrong with, in fact, I don't even believe in changing a government record. The minutes were proposed as they were proposed in that agenda. There's no reason for us to go back and change an agenda that already exists. What there is reason for us to do is to publish clearly the amended minutes that were finally adopted by the board. And if, I think, Chief General Manager Hart, you had proposed even asterisking parts in the original minutes where one could find changes in the amended minutes. Is that still something you're thinking of?
And I will tell you that I would caution the board not to have a discussion to this item based on on the public comment. I will also tell you that I plan on having a discussion item on minutes in October's meeting, along with some recommendations.
Sounds good.
To try to eliminate some of the issues. I mean, some of the concerns expressed by the speaker are understood, but they're also the process that we have checked with several other districts, as well as other cities. And when the board adopts minutes, we don't change them, all right, unless they're amended by the board. So I'm being very cautious, not wanting to get into a dialogue and discussion without this being an agenda item, but I would encourage the speaker to come back in October. I'll have some options for the board and some discussions that we can have a legitimate discussion.
I'll be glad to do that. But the minutes were amended on March 12th.
And the minutes that were amended were posted.
They were not. They were in the police station on the one copy of the minutes. They were buried. And they remain buried because anyone who reads the original, and that's where people are going to go to see what happened, has no idea that those minutes were amended.
Dr. Schwartzberg, the agenda does not say what happened. The agenda says what is proposed to happen. If one wants to find out what happened, one looks at those areas of the website that tell you what happened. That's what the amended minutes area does.
I think
That's
this
enough
is
discussion for
obfuscation.
now.
I think this is obfuscation, and I think this is a continuation.
Okay, fine. Can we have the next speaker, please?
I would suggest that you could have a pull-down menu where each, that's called adopted minutes, whatever is the appropriate phrase, adopted, corrected, but for every meeting, the full, correct, adopted, final minutes are there, because that would make it clear that's the official approved copy. But if you're
Agreed.
if you're just putting a little short amendment, then you have to go back to the other.
No, we're putting the whole thing there.
Yes.
So if you
You're
go to the
going-
take a look at the website. You'll see it's the whole thing as
They're going to do
adopted.
it for every month, whether there's been, it should be done for every month, whether there's been an objection to any of the minutes, so you could just go to that
I
one.
agree. There should be a
Okay.
section that simply
Okay,
says
that wasn't
adopted
clear
minutes
from
so
what
that you know.
said. Thank you.
So we
Thank
will
you.
have a full discussion next month with some options, as well as additional observations from other districts, as well as cities and communities.
15 seconds of, I actually support,
Can I get your ID, please?
oh, I'm sorry, Rick Artis.
And your driver's license? No.
Yeah. Both of the previous speakers actually make a pretty good point that it is quite challenging to find the final minutes of any one meeting, which should take a matter of a second or two. I'm less concerned about clicks and that it be obvious where to go to find any one meeting. They should all be in one place. I support the idea of what appears in the agenda being a record which is proposed for approval, but somewhere there should be a final. I realize we don't want this to
have
go
that.
on.
Am I mistaken? Do we not have that now? It's late.
It's a little bit, I just went and looked. When we bring it up for discussion, I would just propose the goal should be there's one place you go that isn't board packets for the final minutes of any one meeting.
Could not agree more. Thank you.
My name's Simon Brofman. Am I close enough to the mic there? This has nothing to do with that. It's a separate topic. I need to preface this with General Manager, Chief of Police. This has nothing to do with you, although it does touch you in an indirect way. I'm very concerned about the process by which the chief's contract was accepted. I know it was a 3-2 vote. That's not the issue for me. The issue is, from my perspective, due diligence was not done by the board. There was an error that was not found until too late. It should have been found earlier. And if the board doesn't do the due diligence, my understanding there was a lawyer involved with this. That lawyer should have done that due diligence, so that error would have been found earlier. And I propose that the lawyer should be willing to give back some of his fee for the mistake that was made by not doing proper due diligence. That's my comment. And I hope the board acts upon that, because at the end of the day, it is our money. It is the residents of Kensington who pay for these mistakes and these errors, and we must stop doing that. That has to end. The process with regards to money and contracts requires due diligence by the board and by the legal staff. Item number 2. As many of you know, that Lucy, my dog, is far more popular than I am, and I understand that. She's better looking as well. We walk every morning and every evening around the neighborhoods, and numerous people come up to talk to Lucy, and after they're finished with that conversation, they feel that they have to say something to me. And what they generally say to me is, can we do something about the traffic on the Arlington? There are a couple spots that are very, very dangerous. The most dangerous one, as far as I'm concerned, is at the Sunset intersection. The cars come down the hill at 35, 40 miles an hour. They have no desire to stop, even if someone's in the crosswalk. And what concerns me is some small child or a group of children are going to get hurt. We need to do something about that. Part of it is, I understand the curve, but there are also trees that are sometimes planted in that middle section on the Arlington that should be cut down because they interfere with the view that the driver has. So they can't see that someone is coming towards the center. So I know it's also a county issue, but we need to do something about this before someone is really hurt. Okay?
Thanks for the comment.
And then number 3 is just a simple question. In terms of the ad hoc committee, are they going to be giving regular reports at these meetings, or how's that communication going to work?
Go ahead.
The schedule called for regular reports. I don't have it in front of me, but that charter that Vanessa and I prepared calls for regular summary reports so we can track their progress.
Right.
And there is actually a midterm report where they do have to present something formal showing what they've done along the way. And it's expected that we're going to get status reports and updates.
Okay, I didn't see anything on the agenda, and that's why I thought we'd get
The
some sort
agenda
of
for
information.
this or for their committee meeting?
On your agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see
Well,
anything, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and it's a fair question to ask. Again, we've chosen to let that committee wrestle with its own scheduling and its agenda, so they haven't had a meeting yet because they're trying to schedule a time where they can get as many people present in the same room as possible. So there's nothing to report except that they haven't met for the first time.
Okay, thank
That's
you
all.
very much.
Thank you. And by the way, I agree with you on the comments on the Arlington. When I was president, we did our best to keep a cop posted there to give tickets for just that reason, because it terrified me the way cars came racing down the Arlington. It really, really scared me. So I totally agree with you. It's a staffing question. You know, I'd love to have a cop there posted, certainly in the morning and evening commutes.
Well, just another slight comment. Once again, I know this is a county issue as well, but in Berkeley and in Oakland, at some of these crosswalks, they have lights that flash.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, that probably is less expensive than an injury.
I don't disagree a bit.
We had a little bit of a discussion about this last meeting, and it seems to me that there's kind of a holistic approach one can use that consists of, you know, the bottom line, the cop on the beat a certain amount of the time, at strategic times, the lights that light up, you know, signage, that kind of thing. We do need to sit down and look at a holistic approach of this. I agree.
Thank you very much.
And I would add one thing, directors. I have had, in fact, even this week, I've had meetings with the county and county representatives, and they are, up to this point, I would say they've been very responsive to my needs and requests for trimming of trees and so forth. So if Simon, if you have a specific location, I know you said Sunset, but a specific tree, I have a comment on a specific tree already tonight as well. They've been responsive to my request. An example would be, and there's a little few potholes right by the fire station. They have since filled those up within short order. So if you have specific needs and questions, then I've got a direct line with our contact person there. So far, they've met my needs. Please, absolutely. You bet.
I think a few more Mabry Benson here, I think a few more stop signs like at Sunset and a full stop out here seems to me pretty cheap, and there's all these other cities around that have got plenty of stop signs, and it does slow the traffic, which is what we want. Thank you.
Yeah, I just for clarity, I did meet with the county's traffic engineer this week as a representative of Kensington, and we are looking at a few spots, but I did not have any specific location in mind when we had that discussion. Stop signs require a specific staff study, all right, require certain guidelines. So if there are concerns specifically, I'd be more than happy to shoot them off to our traffic engineer that would, hopefully would be receptive for consideration.
Celia Conkus. I would like to ask when the committee, the governance committee, is going to meet. It seems to me that it doesn't take rocket science to schedule 10 people. And if 10 people can't come, then 9 people. But this has taken a very long time. Can somebody tell me when the committee will meet?
I think I can give you the best estimate as of today. I will tell you that I had proposed a couple dates to get the most people, and you're absolutely right. It's difficult to get 10 people to agree on dates and so forth. I have a date right now, I think that's going to work for a majority of the people, and that's October 1st. There was some discussion about having it earlier, but then that's been met with some disagreement. So I believe the current date right now is going to be, and I think that's the one that's going to stay. As soon as I can confirm that, I will publish an agenda, all right, notification that everybody will know when they meet. But I believe right now, and I know I have at least a couple members on the committee here in the room. I believe right now it's October 1st.
Okay,
That's the best I can give you.
Urge you to make haste and get this thing started.
We've been, you'd be amazed how many emails have been pushed around relative to this.
I understand. Yes,
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
The second point that I wanted to ask about is, in going through the agenda packet tonight, I see that there is for August, a Watch Commander's monthly report.
Yes.
There's only one in here, and it would lead me to believe that for the whole month, only Hull and Wilkins worked. Surely there must have been 8 others who worked, or 7 others.
You are absolutely right, and I love the fact that you're bringing that up. I will tell you that they did not meet my deadline for purposes of publishing in a timely manner, because it's trying to get other work done. So it's going to be pushed to the following month for purposes of...
Again, I urge you to crack the whip. You are the head of the department, and you should tell them that they have deadlines.
And I'm a whip cracker. However, staffing is tight, and priority takes on the street. As you know, you saw me on the street today as well with an accident, and that's because we have limited staff, and I'm out there just trying to do the same thing and work hard for the community as all the other officers are.
I've made my statement, and you can tell that I do go through.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
A. Stevensdale. Off script, I want to say that I don't drive a lot on Sunset and Francisco, but I walk a lot along it, and there are no sidewalks on either side of those 2 streets. And one day when I was walking, I noticed that there were at least 4 cars a minute coming down those streets. So that's another area that I think needs to be looked at. We've all heard many times that Kensington Fire gets a lot more property tax money than Kensington Police. One number quoted by a former director is $1,000 more per parcel per year. At over 2,000 parcels, that's over $2 million. In 2013-14, the fire district got $3.4 million in tax revenue, nearly all of it coming from ad valorem taxes. This district got $2.5 million, split almost evenly between ad valorem and special taxes. The difference is under $700,000, not over $2 million. Let me finish and then I'll get back. But Kensington residents paid an additional $1.2 million in garbage rate payments, which went directly to Bayview. Also, on my 13-14 property tax bill, there was a $98 special tax assessment for the park purchase. Collectively, district property owners pay over $2,000 for this, but it is never listed on district revenue. Include these two additional charges, and it's almost $4 million in costs to residents for services managed by this district, about $760,000 more than fire. I am submitting a table with my data for the record. And I assume you're going to, number one, tell me where that park purchase money goes to. The county says that it's managed by NBS Government Finance Group. They tell me it goes to the Kensington Police Protection District. I tell them it doesn't show up on their revenue ledger. Chief Harmon told me at his last meeting that he thought that might be for the park purchase and it went to the county. But the county says they don't get it. Somebody's got to have an awfully deep pocket to put that $200,000 in.
Well, let's certainly clarify that as soon as we can, okay? Anybody have an answer off the cuff?
No.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Put it in the record.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking a look at that for us. Anybody else like to comment? In that case, we go to board member comments. Rochelle, do you have anything to
I do.
say? Okay.
First, I'll make comments on behalf of Director Cordova, who apologizes. She's had some family things to deal with in Southern California, so she apologizes, but wants to assure everyone that she is in daily contact with board members or with the General Manager Hart, and she is keeping abreast of current situations. Then, on behalf of the Parks Committee, I want to state that we had discussed a meeting, planned a meeting for September 30th. Hopefully a list of our meetings was decided the last, a list of meeting dates was proposed and accepted at our last committee meeting, which we will hopefully post to the website by early next week, and I'll make sure that we have those. It also may be that our proposed meeting at that date was September 30th. The seismic engineer is confirming with me that he can attend that date. If he cannot, it may be the following week. So I apologize for that not being firmly nailed down at this point. And I invite you to attend. That's all.
I'll be really quick here. Our negotiations with the police officers are moving apace, and we're scheduling to have a next meeting next week discussing where we are in the process. You've already heard some updates about the ad hoc committee scheduling, and provided they can all synchronize their schedules, they'll be ready to start hopefully by October 1st. And again, this is a citizens committee, so the board is really standing back and making this citizens group act like politicians, schedule everything they need to do, and take control of it. So I think somebody said, why aren't we pushing them harder? We aren't, because we've handed this project to them and are asking them to manage it as good as they can. And it's like, I don't want to be a helicopter parent, so there. And then I also gave, just as part of the ad hoc committee, we had a lot of board material that I prepared as a bibliography, which I sent off to General Manager Hart, and which he has, I believe, emailed to all the board members. And it provides a list of all the articles online that discuss areas. I wanted to make it clear, I don't want anybody to accept that material as gospel. It simply reflects a perspective in time that may help inform people's backgrounds on all the issues they're dealing with. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. The only thing I want to mention is the Park Grounds Committee, which has not met this year. Well, actually, it has met probably more than any other committee almost every week to clear out brush from around the park building and the environs that could perpetuate a fire should there be one. But we haven't had a formal meeting. Katie Gluck, I think, is the only regular attendee I see here to those meetings. We will be setting something for early October. And I think what I'm going to start trying to get us to do is in the agenda section of the website, the Chief General Manager and I have to talk about this, but in the agenda portion of the website, it seems to me it would make sense that once we have a date set, we stick it up there in the agenda website, and we so the date is clear, and then, you know, if we don't have the contents of the agenda, we say something like contents to be determined or something like that, so that at least people can get several weeks of advance notice of when the meeting is scheduled. They can keep looking for when the agenda is available, but at least they have the date.
Are those dates of which meeting?
Whenever we have one. Whenever we have a date for a meeting, either a board meeting, like we were trying to figure out when the October meeting is going to be.
It's always the second Thursday of the month.
Well, yeah, but we were talking about a different date before, so.
Well, for October, we certainly were.
So anyway, once we know the date, especially if there's a controversy, it seems to me it doesn't hurt to stick the agenda up there so people can confirm that's the date. And then we just have a note, you know, contents to be provided. And of course, the same for every other subcommittee. I think we need to sort of get organized about publishing the other subcommittees and getting the dates of meeting out as early as we can, like Rochelle was just saying she would try to get to us.
Right. And I know there's been some comments, Director, about the website. I am working with our website, our webmaster, to try to make some changes. It's just...
Yes, I can see that, and there has been progress.
It's a slow incremental process, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. I think you're doing fine. We
Not
just
as
have more to
fast
do.
as what I would want, but
Just have more to do. Okay, I guess if that is the end of board comments, then we come to yes, sir. Could you come up here just so we? You're speaking out of order, by the way, but I'm going to make a special exception for you.
I do this all the time, Dave Bergen. To put a page on the website that's strictly a calendar that shows all the various meetings in one place is the simplest way to do that.
That's a thought. That's a thought. We'll do something. We'll do better than we're doing, I promise.
So there is a calendar, just for clarity, there's a calendar every month that goes out in the board packet. All right, it's for 2 months. It's on the calendar. It's not separate in a separate drop-down. We can probably do that, but there is a calendar that's a community calendar that's part of the board packet.
Yeah, but does that record all the subcommittee meetings and things? It seems to me it's sort of different subject matter.
If it's a reserving this building, yes.
Okay. We'll have to think about the best way.
I'm looking at a separate page that is just a calendar, and anybody can just go to it quickly and see where all the meetings are happening, and then decide which ones to go to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, an example would be is this is September, and this is October, and this is in the packet, so every month it's in here. But it sounds like there's other changes that I'm want and need to make on the website, and I'll add that to my list.
Okay, moving to the consent calendar.
No, staff has comments.
I'm sorry, staff. I always do that to you guys. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Just real quick, a couple things. if I can clear my voice here. I think everyone probably knows I'm going back to August. I was sworn in as your chief of police on August 3rd. Thank you for those that attended. It was very, very nicely attended by members of the community as well as local chiefs of police. So I thank you for that. The following night was August 4th, which was National Night Out. We had 13 groups of residents that held neighborhood parties, and I think that I was able to get to 6 or 7 of them. I wanted to try to get to all 13, but it just was not successful, but it was very well attended and very, very impressive and I've been to a lot of neighborhood watch programs over the years of my career, and it was just nice to see the community come together on that, so I appreciate that. On August 22nd, we had Meet the GM and Chief of Police barbecue that was attended by about 100 local residents, and I thought that it was, again, well received. I answered a lot of questions from the community and kind of gave my vision, and I know that some of the board members were able to attend as well. And the last thing I'd want to just bring up would be as a reminder for the Citizen Academy, which starts Wednesday, October 7th, and will run consecutive on Wednesdays, with the exception of the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And that'll talk about anywhere from law enforcement duties, our responsibilities, our authority, constitutional law. We plan on having a district attorney that will come be a guest speaker. We'll also have a member from the crime lab that will be a guest speaker, and we'll also have a member of the fire department will come also, even though I know there's other CERT training, but we'll also have them come, and then they'll graduate, I think, on December 9th, after the 9th meeting. So looking forward to that. We've tweaked a little bit with my influence, and I'm looking forward to that event and how residents would I'll be interested to see what residents think after the nine weeks. So I think that concludes staff reports.
Could I just ask, I know this is going a little bit beyond a gleam in a few people's eyes, but do we have anything to say about making an appearance at the farmers market later this month, or are we still thinking about that?
Well, I am working with Mr. Hall, as you know, and trying to come up with some kind of date, and I believe right now we're talking about potentially doing something for the Sunday before Halloween. So we're still trying to drill down the details, but up to this point, we don't have a specific scheduled date.
So the idea would be some sort of a booth there at the farmers market where police will be there in plain clothes, and if people want to chat with them, get to know them better, they would like to get to know you better. It's one way to sort of try to get a little bit more communication going between them and the rest of the community.
I like to describe it as the cops let their hair hang down a little bit. So that'll be, I'm looking forward to that, but we haven't fine-tuned it yet.
Fine. Thank you.
That concludes staff reports.
Lynn?
Other than that, we're not there yet, though. Okay.
Okay. So first of all, thank you to all of the members of the community who have indulged me these last 4 months as I've tried to keep up with all of you, taking minutes with my right hand. I'm left-handed, and I broke my left arm 4 months ago and have had to write with my right hand since then. So that having been said, I apologize for the fact that I missed something in the minutes from the last board meeting that was on August 11th. So actually it wasn't the last board meeting, it was a special meeting that preceded the last board meeting. And so I wanted to read this. On September 8th, Chief Hart and I received an email from Catherine Deniergard letting us know that I'd failed to include reason number 4 of her top 10 reasons Kensington needs restructuring from the August 11th minutes. I apologize for the omission. It was totally inadvertent. Rather than numbering the reasons, I had used bullets. And in so doing, I missed number 4. Therefore, when you get to the consent calendar, directors, would you please add reason number 4 to your August 11th minutes? It should read, quote, "The small 5-person part-time board historically is unable and unwilling to supervise the police department. And I will also annotate the minutes for the evening and make sure that those are included in the minutes under the amended section on the web. Thank you.
Could we do it, could we call those adopted/amended minutes, just so it's clear that that's the final version? Or even final amended minutes, something that, so people know that's it, that is the final document. Okay, yes, ma'am, you're out of order, but step up.
It's always helpful if you add something that you put it in a different color or a different type font or bold or something, then people can pick it up right away. Is that a reasonable request?
It is, but the difference being is that the minutes are from the previous month.
Yes, I understand.
And so when the board approves those minutes, they approve them based on the minutes that are in hand, all right, with the exception of an amendment, so an addendum. And then those changes are noted, all right, and then they stay at, all right, at our records. So we need to fix that piece, and that's why October, I'm going to have some suggestions, recommendations for the board to try to fix that. It's not as easy as you would think, because the board has already approved these minutes with amendments if necessary.
But I do like the suggestion about, the different font or the different color or something, just to make it stand out.
But what you're asking then is,
something.
and we shouldn't get into this discussion now, all right?
Understood.
But what you're asking is to repost those minutes that have already been approved.
No, she's saying when you do it, make sure the font, the changed part stands out with a different font or a different color, something like that.
Okay,
That's all. Just so that it's easy to pick it up.
I agree. We can work on it.
I'm going to
Okay.
propose an agenda item for October.
Okay, now we go to the consent calendar, and would anybody like to have removed from the consent calendar or discuss in particular one of these items before we move to amend?
Can I go first? Thank you. I wanted to pull item B, the minutes of the August 13th meeting. I just had some questions about some of the deadlines in there. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I wanted to pull item B, minutes of the regular meeting of August 13th, and I wanted to pull item C, the unaudited profit and loss for the August 2015 presentation.
Right, okay.
I also want to, I agree with Chuck, and I also want to, and raise him, no, the question of, I need to pull clarification with items I and J. And we might want to shut the door. 'cause
Yeah,
I think
there's a skunk on the loose. It may wander in here. That's all we need.
Thank you, Celia. Ms. Conkus. Yeah, we hope not.
Okay, and Carl, which items did you want to discuss? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
See, I missed C. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, who wants to go
I got
first?
C. Okay.
Let's do the board first.
Yeah.
Well, should we go in order? Alphabetical, B?
On item B here, I just had some questions about some of the deadlines here to make sure we're on track here. The first one is on the Diablo Fire Safety Grant on page 9. It has a September 30th drop dead date. Are we on track to spend it by then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. On page 10, we talk about the June 30th reporting yet. This is actually maybe a question for Debbie. Do we have final numbers for June yet, for June 30 yet? Okay.
Field work has already happened, so we have an audited version that we handed to the auditor, and then the auditor.
Well, I guess my question more is, we get these monthly unaudited profit and loss budget performance. Okay, so maybe in October we'll have a copy of that for the agenda package?
Yes.
Okay.
Carl, does that take care of your issues for those two things?
No, he wanted item C.
We're moving up to item C, I promise.
I'm sorry, okay, I'm sorry.
This is actually for Rochelle. When is the Measure WW deadline?
The parameters for submitting a grant application are between February 1st and March 31st of any given year.
So, and we have to spend the Measure WW funds by 12/18?
December, 12/18.
Okay.
The conclusion, 12/31/18.
So we have to have them, something submitted by February 1 of 18.
No, by 3/31.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3/31.
We think 3/31/16 in order to have, that's the first grant approval
okay.
is what we are looking for.
Okay, good.
But,
Thank you, that answers that. I just couldn't remember the scheduling on it.
Sure.
Clearly, so I can get this in the minutes accurate.
Okay, so WW grant proposals are accepted from February 1st to March 31st of a given year. After that, after March 31st, you must wait a subsequent year up until 2018, and then it will be a moot point. The grant money must be, the project for which you are applying for grant money must be completed in total by December 31st, 2018.
So we can actually we can spend the money, then get reimbursed for it, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still on item C.
Yeah.
Anything more on item C,
B,
Chuck?
I'm sorry.
We're on C, aren't we?
We're on,
No, we're
item,
on B.
Item B. These are the minutes from a prior meeting. I just wanted to clarify some deadlines here. I think that takes me through the comments I had about the deadlines. I just saw all these things we were promising to do by a certain date, and I wanted to kind of close the loop on them. One last thing. We actually do have a signed contract for Chief Hart now? Chief GM Hart?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And it is posted online.
Okay. That's item B. Item C.
May I?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Do item B. I have a clarification on page 15, the second full paragraph, or I guess it's a sentence there. It says, it's noted that Mr. Holtzman said, this is the center of the paragraph, Mr. Holtzman said, however, that a minimum required amount, $122, would have to go to PEMCA. That figure was monthly, and I think that $122 is used a couple of times within that paragraph, and I think it should read $122 monthly for clarification.
Yeah, good suggestion.
Fair enough. And so the next item was item C on the unaudited profit and loss.
Right.
And I have a couple of points here. Let me get my binder back here. I'm sorry. Starting at page, these things aren't numbered, I'm sorry, 22. I think that's where we start on the first one. The special assignment revenue, was that WestNet or something? Do you see item 412? It says special assignment.
Yes.
Okay. And is that going to be an?
Well, that was either WestNet or that was Sergeant Huey's special assignment for.
That's going away, right? The WestNet thing?
WestNet's gone away.
And Sergeant Huey's no longer on special assignment, so
Correct.
that'll go away too.
Correct.
Okay. 419, supplemental workers' comp reimbursement. Did we ever discuss what this was? Is this the salary reimbursement for the?
Yes.
Okay.
For Officer Martinez.
And the compensated absences at 504, I was $14,000 was that for the August payment to to Officer Turner? Okay.
Yes.
And salary non-sworn, no problems there. Medical.
I will clarify, I believe the compensated absences, was that 14,000 year to date?
Yeah, 14,172.
Not all Turner, most of it is Turner, but the officers are allowed to cash out 3 times a year.
Right.
And so some of that would
Okay.
be a couple of officers.
Okay.
Most of it, though, I would say
10 I think 10 or 11 is.
Yeah, 10 or 11,000 of that is Turner.
Okay. 521R, medical, vision, dental, retired. The August was 13,000, and July and August was 39,000. That's not a linear progression. Did we have a big hit on a bill? July and August was 39,670, and August alone was 13,000, which means that July would have been 24,000, 23,000?
I'd have to look at the details.
Okay. And that's fine.
My guess is that it has something to do when you're in closing.
Okay.
And then I would have to look also.
Okay, and that's fine. The PERS district portion, 527, August is 13,965, and the total for July and August is 226. I guess we took advantage of that $200,000 payment?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. And on page 24 here, I'm having a little trouble with the column in August 15th and the number in July and August 15th. Let's look at 640, just to make sure I'm not losing my mind here. August was 1,723, but the combined is 1,598, and I don't know how you do that. And then there's some other ones down. Computer maintenance, for example, 810 is 10,755 for August, but the combined of July and August is 9,859.
Well, I'll tell you what those are, because we may have paid something in July that belonged in June, and I have moved them out to June, and so then I reverse them, and then they get paid. So something may not have been paid until September. They'll even out. Anything that was meant to have billed dates that should have been in June, I had to approve for June. Then I reversed that entry, and then with the real bill, when it came in Sunday, it even out.
Well, again, this unaudited profit and loss I just thought was a cash payment method.
Well, it is all the months is cash, except for the year end when I make it accrual.
And then you make these.
So June and July will always have some accrual issues, right? I have approved appropriately for June, those get flushed out through July, and then they get paid in cash again.
So what
my
you-
guess is that something got paid in September.
Or in July, or something got paid in July and got clawed back into June. Is that,
Something got paid in July, August, and September that
Belonged
belonged
to
in
June.
June, and we just don't have the final figures yet, but I put into June and reversed to July.
oh, okay.
What category is it?
There were several categories. Most of them are on page 24. The August,
10 was one, computer maintenance,
830 legal.
consulting.
I mean, total district expenses of 800 were
They're all,
51,000.
that whole area there is
Yeah.
800, zero, kind of had a balance to it.
So I go through
Yeah.
all the invoices up till now that should have been in June, and by journal entry, I put them into June. And then I take them back out of July, because then the actual checks hit in July, August, and September.
And I guess that does have a way of keeping our monthly unaudited profit and loss year-specific instead of just a collection of unpaid bills from any time.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is, in a couple of months, you won't notice it anymore, but it will happen again at the end of the year. So we don't make adjustments between months,
Mhm.
but if it should have been in May, or got paid in June, I don't adjust
Yeah.
that. But at the year end, you have to.
From the next year back to the prior year. Okay. Well, those were my big questions. Carl, you probably had some questions?
My question was on 24, those items, no matter what Betty said, but that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how you can have 51,000 expenses in July, then you have August expenses, and all of a sudden you have 23,000.
Because a lot of things that we pay for in July should have been in June, and I make them still in June, because they have to be in the fiscal year that they were incurred.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that. I really don't.
I don't know how else to explain it to you, but we pay.
Well, can I, wait a minute, wait. You can't understand the policy, or you can't understand what she's saying?
Oh, I understand what she's saying, but
Okay.
it doesn't make any sense to me. We have closed the last fiscal year, we're in a new fiscal year, and we have talked in August about items that was approved in
So I will tell you that what would be helpful is the June, we need to produce the June, you'll see that June has much higher expenses than originally expected, because there are things that are paid, we don't get billed to, we all know Richmond, the city of Richmond, which is a big one, it has to fit in the fiscal year. So if cash comes out late.
So what you're really trying to do is to make each of these annual unaudited profit and loss budget performances reflect what was either paid or accrued by June 30th of the prior year. So I mean, but then again, we're stuck trying to deal with something that's not really a budget. It's just, it's.
It is a budget. It is a budget.
Okay.
Actually, it looks screwy at the beginning of the month, but in fact, every year we do that. And then by June, we have what we actually
Okay.
incurred. Not necessarily paid actual, but incurred, and that's what our budget is.
So you're asserting that legal fees of 27,000, of item 830, that entirety was our June legal fees? Paid? Okay. Because the July to August 15th number is 0. So that would imply to me that if we take away, that we're looking at everything that for June.
Or prior.
We bill in arrears, and then by the time we pay it, it still has to get approved for June. So legal fees for the prior year will reflect that.
Okay.
So I think that's
But yeah, it's
Okay.
awfully confusing for the layperson.
Michelle asked what I was going to ask. I don't understand that. I do not know how you can have $27,000, $27,757 in legal fees in July, and by the time you take July and August, you have nothing. I don't understand that.
Well, how would you recommend that she reconcile
It seems to me that you accrue items, and if you don't get the billing for the last year, what you do is you put it onto that year. It ought to be in June, and I don't, if everybody else understands, okay, I don't.
I think your suggestion on accruing the expenses by June 30th is appropriate, though. That at least would.
We don't know about June 30th.
Then it does not belong in the July statement.
It
does not belong in the July statement. That is correct. It does not belong in the July statement, but the staff produces what they paid in cash. And then I approve it.
I give up.
No, Carl, your point's well taken here. It's a well-expressed concern. We're just trying to wrestle with it to make sense.
27,000 in July. It can't be less than August.
No, it's implying that 27,000, the entirety of 830, that was actually a June bill that was paid in August. So I agree with you. You cannot read this as a layperson. So I think that probably maybe we could look to putting headings like paid in August, because clearly we have not received any July or August legal bills.
Michelle, I know what you're saying.
Okay.
But I'm not a layperson when it comes.
No, that's true.
I've looked at operating.
I don't mean to imply.
I must be quiet.
Let's find a way to make this understandable. Maybe it's a footnote or something that lets people know this was a bill for prior year services you paid this year, and it really belongs in the prior year for a cash payment basis, but you're trying to reflect cash going out the door. Just a thought.
Next June is try to see with Lynn and mark those, so they know that July.
Okay.
That might help.
No, the levy tax is from the county. The county, that number that we have received. Okay, so the way the revenue stream works is the county awards us, what's on our tax rolls in July. In fact, that's not even true. What they give us is last year's tax rolls, and then in December they take that out for the real number. But they give us the full revenue picture at once, and then there's an accounts receivable. We only collect it 2 times a year in cash. So it's not cash received, but it is our revenue. Again, it's over the cash.
May I ask about category 596? It's WestNet. I'm presuming there's no WestNet funding in that any longer. Or at what point do we cease to fund?
I don't know.
It says Westnet, we took it off of the budget, but I don't think we took it off of the unaudited.
That's, I'm just seeking clarification so that we can,
We took it off the budget because there was a question
On the title.
on the title.
Okay.
So we need to fix that.
Okay, Rochelle, you had issues with items I and J.
I do, and that is page 32, 33. It's just a clarification because Marty Westby's report suggests that the fall parade will be August 25th, and the activities calendar states that it's on October 25th, and the calendar states October 18th. So if anyone knows, I had heard that the date was October 18th, but I just wanted to clarify.
We certainly need to clarify that, don't we?
Because we hope that folks attend, so, just so that, I have heard the 18th, but I'm happy to talk to Marty and we can,
Okay, so we'll get to the bottom of that and fix that.
yes, so just,
Okay, and how about J? Oh, that is J.
It's both.
yes, because they're two
Okay.
separate, we have
Got it,
the office report from the KCC.
So
And then we
anything
have
more
a
on those two, Rochelle?
No, I just wanted, if anyone knew offhand, and then, is the 18th for their calendar? That's our, I mean,
That's our calendar that we produce. Right.
and that's what I had heard,
I'll
but,
place a call to Marty tomorrow in the morning.
and we'll,
All right, any further comment on the consent calendar? In that case, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved
As amended.
as amended.
As amended and commented on.
Thank you.
Is there a
Well,
second?
I'll second it.
oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 3-0 since there are 2 board members absent. Okay, new business. GM Hart, would you please brief the board?
Absolutely. So I would like to introduce and ask to come to the podium Craig Fechter, if I pronounce that correctly. He is our auditor, our independent auditor who examined our financial reports for 2013, 2014. And he knows that this is a kind of a long delayed report, but I'm sure he'll probably comment about that. But other than that, he's here for a presentation for the financial report.
Yep. Thanks, GM. So our firm conducted the audit of the Kensington Police Protection. Our firm conducted the audit of the Kensington Police Protection District. We started the audit in end of May of 2015, shortly after our presentation to the board. Again, an audit, it's hard to tell what an audit is. A lot of time I can tell what it is not. We do not, conduct a comprehensive examination of all your transactions. That would be unfeasible. It wouldn't be practicable. You have a bookkeeping system in place. Again, we don't replicate your bookkeeping system in its entirety. Furthermore, that would be impossible because I'd have to sit down and your general managers and Lynn's desk to actually do that. So instead, we conducted samples of our of different items during the audit. So, I have a couple of mysteries I could solve. I guess in hearing some of the commentary. The first one being is like the Bayview contract, for example. We assess your different revenue sources and see, what are some of the risks that exists. So taking a look at your revenue sources, we say, when it comes to property taxes, well, they're assessed by the county, they're billed by the county, they're collected by the county, and they're maintaining county accounts, so it's not really a high-risk area. In regards to the Bayview contract, that's actually a contract that's run by an outside party to collect trash of district residents, and so we say, what are the risks that exist there? And so the Bayview contract specifically, the district doesn't actually touch those monies or hold those monies. The district itself is entitled to a small percentage of the monies that are collected by Bayview, which I believe is 5%, correct? 7%?
Our share is 5%, yeah.
5%.
Total is 7.
He's talking about the gold contract.
2.
Sure. So the contract itself, the district's entitled to 5% of the overall.
We went from 5% franchise fee to 7, okay?
Okay.
County gets 3 of that.
Yeah, he's talking about last calendar year.
2014 fiscal year was 5%.
That's right.
So what we do is we actually obtain a copy of the Bayview audited financial statements and then verify the district collected portion is accurate, for example. Something else that we do in regards to the assessment district, which is, I believe, the issue that you brought up, we do confirmation. So the assessment district collects money. The district is just basically administers the monies in the assessment district and basically forwards the entire amount onto the bank for the bond that was taken out about 10 years ago. And so as part of the audit, again, the most reliable source of information for audit purposes is third-party confirmations. So we have a debt agreement, we have the amortization table. I have I have the word from Debbie, and I have from Old Chief Harmon and from Lynn that they actually made the payments. Well, I'm not going to trust them. I actually do a confirmation of a third party to verify that they actually made the payments during the year, because it consists of almost $200,000 worth of payments made to the bond assessment. And so, again, as part of the audit, we can't look at every transaction. We do conduct samples. We are very acutely aware of the prior accusations in the district, so we take it very seriously. We always examine credit cards here, and actually every district we audit, every nonprofit we audit, we always look at credit cards, because it always seems to play a role in stuff that goes on. So, we conduct an examination of disbursements. We confirm cash with outside parties, with the County of Contra Costa. Again, Debbie provides me with a report saying that, we have X number of dollars in the county. I say, that's great. I'm going to contact the county independently of you to make sure that what you're giving me is accurate. So again, we don't look at every transaction. We do a test sample of what we can look at. We really compare current year to prior year to verify that the numbers appear to be accurate, and then we investigate based off of any major discrepancies or any major changes from the prior years. And we do confirm as much as we possibly can, with outside parties. For example, another confirmation we do is your CalPERS payments. A large part of the budget are your retirement contributions. So, Debbie says we paid CalPERS, $100,000 in the year. I say that's great that you tell me that, but I'm going to verify independently that that's accurate. So we actually go into the CalPERS system, obtain a report of all the payments that CalPERS received, and verify that what you say that you sent CalPERS actually was sent to CalPERS. We actually have some issues with this in other districts where those numbers don't match up, and it ends up being a, interesting thing to figure out. But in this case, we had no findings of discrepancies to report. So are there any questions? I'm here to field questions from the board and from the public.
What's your overall sense of the books and records of the district? I'm sorry, excuse me. What is your overall sense of the books and records of the district, and what's your conclusion on the audit?
My conclusion on the audit is that the financial statements are fairly presented. The pages 1 and 2 reflect that. Financially, for special districts in California, it's been a real tough 10 years. Property values have been down, which means collections have been, correspondingly down. 2015 looks quite a bit better than the prior years. So district lost over $200,000 in the 2014 fiscal year, which by any way you measure it is a tough year financially. So it was a tough year financially. Again, 2015 figures are looking better. There isn't nearly the same level of loss. I forgot offhand what exactly that number is right now, and the audit isn't complete, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment right now on that either. But so there are some major changes upcoming for the 2015 fiscal year audit. We conducted field work on the 15 audits a couple of weeks ago, right? Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. That went very well. We had no, any specifics to report from that. We are waiting for one report from CalPERS in regards to a new accounting standard called GASB 68. What that requires is that your unfunded pension liability be reported on the face of your financial statements. That'll be a major change as compared with prior years. I'm going to have to probably do some, orientation or training with Debbie so she understands. And I'd be happy to come back to like a finance committee meeting or whatnot to meet with the board, a little more intimate setting. That way, we have more time to go through it. And that will be a major change that will add probably 3 or 4 pages of footnotes, plus a large liability in your statement of net assets.
We actually have our CalPERS statement coming out, I think, either in October or November, so maybe you should plan on coming back for a November, December finance committee meeting.
Right now, according to Lynn, who talked to CalPERS recently, the report's scheduled to be available in a month. And so once I get the report, I'll be able to update the draft financial statements, provide to Debbie. At that point, hopefully by November, we will be ready to issue.
Very good. Any more board comments, questions? How about the general public? Okay, well, do I have a motion to adopt the,
I have a question for you. We
okay.
always go through this, are we adopting it or simply accepting the presentation? And we always have this question about what we should be doing here.
well, yeah, I think accepting the presentation is a better way to phrase it.
Yes.
So, shall we have a motion to accept the presentation as given to us?
So moved?
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, 3-0, and the motion passes.
Thank you. And I'm available for the board, for management, or for members of the public to contact me should you have any questions about the audit report or district finances.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming
So-
down.
Thank you. Thanks,
So,
Greg.
are we actually finishing before 9 tonight?
Don't jinx it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
I second it. All in
September
favor?
10th meeting.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you all for
3-0, the
coming
motion
out.
passes. We adjourn.
Yes, thank you.
Happy Thursday and almost Friday, everybody.
So you think it's